Yeah.
Hi.
So
Thank you for being here.
we had a little private session, didn't we?
Yes, it was a great one. Very good.
Usually the things that people have the hardest, the most difficulty looking at in their past before this life are the things most terrorizing that trap them from remembering and using their higher awareness. And it's not easy to look at some of this stuff. It just isn't, because it isn't nice. When you have the right friends and the right technology and the right spirituality and friends from other planets and adepts that are working with you, you can get the courage up to look at this stuff and put it behind you as a memory. Then instead of it being subconscious and affecting your nervous system, fear of the unknown, fear of death, fear of the future, that goes away. And instead of fear, you begin to see and have insight and wisdom about life in other worlds, your lives in other dimensions, that you're running as a single being, as an atma, as a single soul. And a lot can come back to you then. So that's the basis, I suppose, for this journey, for the benefit of your listeners, whoever the listeners are. What I do and why I do it is to stimulate, well, the pineal gland in the center of the brain is a human being on earth, for one thing, but it isn't interfering with people or invading their psyche or their space. It's really nothing more than turning on this pineal gland to secrete melatonin and serotonin to put the body in the trance state called sleep that they do every night anyway, with quite masterful expertise, and yet they can't remember anything. But people know how to put their body to sleep, just like eating bread. And they're doing it when the body finally drifts off, and they have learned incorrectly growing up to drift off with it, to go unconscious with the body. They go out and they experience things out of their body at night. Even people that think the devil's going to get them if they leave their body, when they go to sleep, they leave their body. The fear that they've been forced to consume in lives they don't even know exist is the thing that keeps them from confronting who they are, bringing it to the surface, remembering who they are has never been a body and isn't a body and can't be destroyed. That's what tyrants don't want people to know. They don't want people to remember what they are that can't be hurt by tyrants. They want you to think that you can be harmed by them. Bodies can be. The Atma that runs a body cannot be. There's no technology or being that can harm it in any way, but they can convince the real being, the Atma, that it can be controlled or harmed. They do things to it, to bodies, to get the Atma to think and view in negative ways. Fear of the future, fear of a superior race dominating you, telling you if you remember who you are, we will kill you and eat you alive again, for instance. That kind of terror. So it is something that people are very afraid of confronting. You can't do it on your own. You need very advanced beings who don't have subconscious minds, that are highly trained, people on earth don't even know exist, involved in the process of recovery. Because some of the things you have to confront to get them beyond them are pretty terrible. And once they're recovered, they're simply a memory. And the higher faculties and knowing that was suppressed begin to resurface in the being. And then they're able to run their body on earth properly without thinking they're a body. They're running a form they're supposed to run, to have experience, to come up with new ways to create things differently, with vast host of beings on many dimensional levels to make the whole creation work better, which is the true nature and function of each being, each soul, each Atma. Its destiny is to be a co-creator with the source behind all life, not a co-worshipper of it or a co-slave or under its thumb or trying to placate it for favors. Only tyrants want to be worshipped like that. Only tyrants demand worship. Only. The source behind all life itself, far above what's called the void in some esoteric circles. In Buddhism, some monks who are highly trained travel out of their bodies and they go up through the four lower planes and they go to this void above the etheric plane. They go, oh, there's nothing beyond that. That's it. That's not correct at all. I can't blame them. It's just that they don't know. There's a whole pure positive universes up there that don't have the positive and negative stream running through them at all. And that those monks themselves came from there at one time. I use it as an example because there aren't too many things on earth that teach people about what the void is. I think maybe Hinduism might do that a little bit. I'm not that familiar with Christianity to know if they talk about a void, but they mention the third heaven. But then if that's true, then where's the first, second, and fourth, and fifth, and other heavens? They're up there. So it's vague memory of what's really going on in a way. The four lower dimensions above this physical universe, some people might call heaven, like astral, causal, mental, or etheric, also have the negative current running through them, and they aren't a permanent heaven. And they have wars, and they have deception and dishonesty and kindness and love and all the things we have here in a higher frequency. To get to what people really call heaven, they have to go above that void into the higher worlds, where there is no negative nature at all. In other words, they need to return from whence they once came. And to do that is part of the reason we exist. To return to the source we came from, to deliver what we've learned and come up with new insights from those experiences, once liberated from the experiment of evil in ourselves or negative nature or feelings or imagination, get free of that. And a being naturally can see new ways of doing things when they return, and they share it. And this can help change the way the lower dimensions are run, so we can get rid of the experiment of evil, which is a failed experiment, by the way, and replace it with something that actually works to motivate beings to be co-creators with the source. The source itself that I've been to many times, I'm at right now, part of me, has never left. That source never requested or insisted or demanded that we worship it at all, ever. It only supports and sustains all life, and then sees what we do with it. The beings that are on the lower planes below it, that have set themselves up pretending to be gods of eternity and demand worship, are not the source. And they have a positive and negative nature running through them. And so they themselves are deceived. Fear runs through the core of their being, and so they suppress others. You have to get beyond that to drop that. The rule of thumb is, in the high worlds, there is only one law. Love and do as you will. But that means for people to operate in true free will, they have to know what love really is. And love isn't what people think it is on earth. Love, in a nutshell, on a universal scale, is respecting all life. That's real divine love. And to do that, you have to know what all life is beyond earth. If a being on earth wants to return and play in the whole multi-dimensional creation, all the heavens, including this planet, all the worlds, and have the freedom to move through it, they have to be trusted. And that means they need to understand and recover what the life is out there they've been made to forget without their consent somewhere in their past by something. And they have a terrible time even looking at that because it's too terrifying. The Atma, the real being, has the courage and the capacity to not only look at it, but set it aside as meaningless in its eternal journey to co-create. Beings like us in this form, human forms, have been around for several billion years like this. That the being, the real being, can run a body of this form, and when it's not messed with and the genomes on the DNA aren't turned off, some of them like they are on people on Earth, a being can run higher faculties and awareness through a form like this and know and remember who they are. And move and play in the lower creation and have experience with the intent of returning to that source and sharing it and creating new ways of doing things up there. Because the fact is, you can't change anything in the lower dimensions like this on Earth unless you first change it up there. And we have to do with a vast host of beings to change anything. What's underway up there now is moving in a new direction, and it's changing the way the lower dimensions work and who runs them, how they run it, without destroying it. It's like having a good administration in place, but changing the tyrants into benevolent beings once again, who don't lie and cheat. Atmas, to get them to reincarnate with no memory. That's not normal. That's interference. So there's only one law up there: love and do as you will. There is a law that supersedes that law now, that was recently brought into creation. And it's an expansive, ongoing energy that runs through the first sound behind all creation. That which supports and sustains all life has a new energy flowing through it that can work in the lower dimensions of positive and negative, good and bad, without being part of it. And there's nothing in the lower dimensions, whether weapons or technology or extraterrestrials or beings in or out of bodies, that can affect it in any way, shape, or form whatsoever. And it's moving in one direction. And that is to replace this failed experiment of evil with an energy consciousness that motivates beings to create only that which is of uplifting benefit for all life, everywhere, not just on Earth. That kind of change in consciousness, when people begin to become aware of this, their being starts to change. Because what makes the energy of an Atma, an individual spherical shaped form of soul, it isn't shaped like this, that runs this body, is the true image of what we are and the source of the Creator itself. Because we're co-creators with it. It looks the same. We're like that on a smaller scale. Comprised of exactly the same energy, has structure. And it's like it's like an individual being is a pure drop of water, pure drop of this energy, floating in, moving in an ocean of that energy. Actually, the Atma part of it has never left the upper worlds. You can have a sphere hovering up there, one in etheric, mental, causal, astral, physical, all running different bodies. And this is all one real being running all those spheres and all those bodies. And it's you. It's the real person. On many hundreds of millions of worlds, even in our Milky Way galaxy, planets exist with human and humanoid and other life on them that know this stuff growing up. They know how to get in and out of their bodies and fly spaceships across the stars. And people on Earth, the way they are, have no idea this is going on around them. Governments here have spent huge amounts of energy and money to suppress any reality about extraterrestrials, because they made agreements with some of them, not the best kind, to get the technology we're using today. And they were compelled to sign treaties with such beings against their better judgment. Tools were used on them, devices, misuse of science, that they didn't even see coming. Fortunately, that's been policed by beings from other worlds who have stopped many attempts by a tyrant race to take this planet over. There was a race who had planned to kill off 3/4 of the Earth's population by controlling the governments and the hidden people to do it for them. And it didn't take many of them. And they have been moved out of town, sent away from this world, not by people on Earth. They were caught many times breaking an off-world treaty that goes back 500,000 years. Some of their ships were shot down about to do something really nasty here. And some of our governments recovered those crap. But most of them were not shot down by our military forces. Again, something they don't want to tell the public, that such things are going on, that our militaries, even classified reverse engineered technology, really couldn't protect this planet if a race as advanced as ours wanted to come down here and kick our ass. They would have if other races out there hadn't prevented it already. Sooner or later, people on Earth that are running things, and many of them want to disclose to the rest of the people. They really do. They just are scared. They don't know how to do it. How to do it safely with it, keeping all the industry and everything intact and nobody's starving in the streets and all that. They're getting some help now to figure out how to disclose fully to people and keep things balanced and safe. They have to go through a change in consciousness into more true free will as well to make proper decisions that they're not capable of making yet. I'm talking about governments on this earth and classified hidden government on this earth. When fear is finally gone from people here, fear of the bad country over there, some tyrant over here, and all those people change. People won't need to do what they're doing now. When that happens, then ships can come here from other worlds and land all over the planet. People won't be afraid and they'll know it's good and they'll embrace it and evolve quickly or remember who they are quickly. And then they can be invited to take our place as a planet among the stars, be given the technology, cures for diseases, longevity, how to get in and out of bodies, anti-gravity, anything like that. Ships and technology that people on Earth wouldn't be able to reverse engineer for another 10,000 years would be available to us at no cost if we were a sane planet of people or awake. Why do I say this? Because think about it from the perspective of billions and billions and billions of beings out there in our galaxy that are more advanced, human and otherwise. They get along just fine. There's a few tyrant races out there and they're being dealt with in a benevolent way, believe it or not. And then we got these Earth people, half crazy, practically lunatics, living in fear. Even the most classified people are in fear of their superiors and everybody can't know what everybody else is doing. And they live in a kind of terror and they have to lie to everybody else. It's negative. It makes them ill. They get disease, they die. It's not fun to have a classified system. It's of a tyrannical nature. It causes people to justify abuses to innocent people in the name of national security or to keep something classified. And once they start down that road, tyrants from other worlds have them by the cojones, if you know what I mean. They're being controlled. There have been a lot of beings who have come here to prevent that from going very far. Or actually, most life on this planet would already be dead. Tyrants would have loved that. It's easy to control 500 million people than 7.5 billion. That's the thinking of a tyrant. So since the threat to Earth is really not real anymore, and this universe, this solar system is quarantined, meaning that beings from other worlds that are kind don't really want to interfere here. They certainly don't want the burden of running our planet. But they aren't going to allow us to go out in space outside this solar system, carrying all of our fears and petty greeds and jealousies and lack of consciousness and religious indoctrination, political deception with us, with weapons of mass destruction, and go plant an American flag on some other world. It's never, ever going to happen, ever. Because space out there, whether people know it on Earth yet or not, is already occupied by more advanced races, mostly. So, and they're kind, and if we want to go play with them, we got to, on Earth, people have to grow up and have one kind government and be able to play out there fairly. And the technology wouldn't be denied us. You think these people didn't get rid of their microscopic life that was early forms of life that now competes with advanced beings, gets in their bodies and eats them up? They don't have cancer. They don't use radioactive materials in their technology. Not the more advanced races, because there's no constructive use for it. You can't use a nuclear reactor to warp space and go to another planet powered by a rocket ship. That's crazy. The speed of light is only limited by the perceptions of beings who can only see that much of a spectrum of it. There's no such thing as the speed of light as it's done on Earth, how they think about it. There are frequencies that go far beyond any speed of visible light. And if beings have the technology and common sense and wisdom to utilize the energy that exists in the universe that connects everything together, it can transport them across the stars to other galaxies, way beyond any limits like that. And they begin to understand how interdimensional doorways work between realities and planets. The universe is set up like this already. Just because people on Earth don't know it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So let's go on a little journey now. I would ask the listeners to be very calm, to get comfortable in a chair or lying on their back, to trust themselves as beings first. Not another God or Savior or anybody else. It's okay to respect and love anybody you admire. But this is about trusting yourself as a being, as a soul, as an atma, that's made of an energy that is not atoms and protons and neutrons. It's finer than that. It supports those realities. And each atma being is comprised of this fine energy. It is not atomic or nuclear in nature. It is behind, before time and space. Above it, beyond it. When we work with this word hue, it's a sound that's round and whole with human vocal cords. Hue. Vibrates the head upward, the pineal gland in the center of the brain, and opens the door, turns on a little switch, and it makes the pineal gland secrete melatonin, creates serotonin. What it does basically is put the body in the trance state called sleep to run on automatic safely while you go out and explore creation. People do it every night when they put the body to sleep. All the beings on Earth, as unconscious as they are, still know how to do this almost automatically. They've grown up in a society where you look at a body go to sleep and they go unconscious as a being with it. That's not restful. The body needs to be in the trance state called sleep, so you go out of it, go out, get higher energy, and come back to it. And the idea is to be conscious of what you've done, where you've gone, and wake the body up in the morning when you get back to it, and download the memory of what you've done. Some people do this unconsciously. They have a vivid dream of flying in the astral plane, their physical body. More real looking than being on Earth. And then they come back here and have to deal with taxes and governments, and they forget about it. Pretty soon it's just like a dream. They think they made up in their brain, and they go about their day and it gets forgotten. But the real trick is the imagination, the ability to see into the multiverse as a being, the spherical form, not the body, not the brain, that runs this body. It has the ability to see and know things because it isn't shaped like a human body. The brain has no ability to imagine anything. It's not designed to do that. It is a multi-billion faceted, circuited neuron conglomerate through which the atma pushes different buttons to run things, vocal cords, coordination, eye movement. The mind and emotional forms come from lives people are living in higher dimensions that the atma is running, each individual. Astral is emotion. Mental is mind. 4 planes up from the physical universe. This is the kind of thing that people remember as they become free of fear. So, in your relaxed state, imagine someone you love and respect and you're grateful they're in your life. Person, place, or thing. But it should be something that when you first imagine it or think of it, whoever they are, whatever it is, It makes you smile. You just can't help it. You just smile. My little cat Starlight is an Atma who I know, who runs a cat body, and he's very advanced. I go into other dimensions of the realities, and he'll show up on my shoulder and say, "You think you're the only one that can do this?" People don't know on Earth. So I have a profound respect for this dear friend who isn't even human. He's telepathic. He has a photographic memory. His eyes give him the ability to see into the astral plane and see stuff that he wonders what's wrong with people on Earth. How come they can't see this stuff? And he's what people call an animal. Nothing works on this planet unless a being is running it somewhere. And I don't mean physical bodies, because they can't run themselves. The human being can't run itself. A fully mature human being sitting in a chair with the heart moving and all, without the Atma running it, would sit there like a zombie and do nothing. Something people miss on Earth, or have been made to forget, is that beings and bodies and things don't run themselves. Planets don't run themselves. Galaxies don't run themselves. There are beings behind all of it. Imagine someone you love and respect. You're grateful they're in your life, whatever that is. Take several deep breaths. And when you breathe out, you're putting all your fears and concerns about your life, physical, spiritual, material, money, on a shelf, in your background, on the carpet, on the floor, in any form you want to imagine, but you're leaving it behind with the body that's going into the trance state we call sleep. What we're doing is no different than when you go to bed at night, except with a guide or with a voice, you're staying alert. While the body goes into this trance state, you are staying aware so you can go on this journey. And we're going to go beyond the physical body on a little journey above Earth and maybe take a trip somewhere. And when you're out of your body this way, all your higher faculties are on. So you can see and know things and bring back the memory of this journey to your physical form when we return. Imagine a beautiful waterfall flowing down a mountainside, and you're walking barefoot through a green grassy field on a little brown path. You can smell the scent of gardenias and lilacs in the air. Some of you may smell the smell of what's like roses, but much sweeter, more pungent. And the air is pure. There's no pollution in this atmosphere whatsoever. The vibration is breathtakingly uplifting. The air just like you breathe in and it flows through your body, in and out through it, past the lungs. Imagine a beautiful hummingbird hovering in front of your face about a foot away. You could swear it was smiling at you. Beautiful iridescent wings just fluttering there. This is how out-of-body travel works. People have all kinds of concepts about it being difficult and large disciplines and many years of practice, and you got to do yoga and you got to bend into a pretzel and you got to do certain things and point north to get it to happen. This just makes it stressful and keeps people in bodies. It doesn't work like that. When fear is put to the side intentionally by the being through will, like we're doing, then they can leave consciously. Because the Atma cannot take when the subconscious negative stuff is shut off, as it is now. The Atma, the real you, cannot take any negative nature with it on these journeys. I'll tell you why. We're going to work with the primordial first sound behind all creation that was there with all of us before the lower dimensions of time and space were created. I'm going to send out these tones on successively higher tone levels because it works with beings who hear it, friends of mine, kind, wondrous, very enlightened, not from Earth, and from higher dimensions, also not from Earth. And it produces this melatonin, serotonin. The body stays in the trance state called sleep, and then we'll go on a journey. This is something each of you co-create. This is not done to you. We are not tyrants. You do this of true free will to co-create getting out of your own trap. We do this so that you can imagine differently than you were taught. And I'll not use anything of a negative nature. On Earth, people use the imagination in a split way, positive and negative, good and bad, fear of the future, love and wanting to do good for their families and in their own life, be successful. But it's split in two currents and they ground each other. They short each other out and ground people to the Earth. The correct use of the creative imagination, or the ability to see into the grand multiverse and know things and move around in it, is to only create that which, and intentionally only create that which is of uplifting benefit to all life. For it to work properly, you have to do this for the benefit of all life everywhere, not just on this planet. I'll begin these tones now. Some of you may be able to hear this sound like a fine white noise or electrical energy or sound of the crashing ocean or a feeling, impression, humming through creation. This raises the vibration and creates an energy field around us, wherever you are on Earth. It provides a certain protection that was not available to people 7 years ago, Earth time. Did not exist in creation, even in the upper dimensions. Something new was brought into creation in the upper worlds, beyond the void, brought down to the Say rays, very ancient race of humans, several billion years old, brought to a galactic alliance council and coming here to Earth that provides a way, protected way for people to feel safe to explore deliberately hidden truth within their own being and out in the creation. And these are words. So my focus and reason for doing this is for people to have their own direct, co-creative experience about deliberately hidden truth, so they can begin to get higher IQ points and recover their higher ability to understand, know, perceive with certainty, without doubt, fear, speculation, and theory involved at all. Imagine a beautiful hummingbird hovering in front of your face. You're walking barefoot down a 3-foot wide brown path, and you can feel your hands running over the top of 4-foot high, tall, lavender colored grass. You take a breath and you can smell springtime. You can actually smell, taste the air. It's sweet. And it has like a slight perfume of gardenia and lilacs is what it smells like. And when you breathe, you can feel the air go into your lungs and right out the back of your body on every side and back through you when you breathe out. There's no barriers to the energy you're breathing in, because it's really the energy keeping this form alive, not the oxygen. And when you look to your left, you can see this round field of lavender grass, maybe 10 or 15 acres of it. And then way off, you see these tall, weeping willow trees, luminous brown and green leaves, radiating a cold, cool light, coming down and touching the ground. And on the other side of them, they line a riverbank as a dark green river flowing past it lazily, like a snake. And off in the distance, you see that it winds up towards a snow-capped mountain range far up in the distance. In the middle of this lavender grass field is a clearing, maybe 30 feet wide. Looks like white marble stone. And when you step onto it from the path, you feel a cool energy under your feet and a warm energy run up your legs. And it comes up into what form you have here that looks like you on Earth, but young and perfect health. No hang-ups of any kind, completely free. And you see a sphere of energy hovering above this body form. Has a white light core, maybe the size of a fist, and then a layer of teardrop-shaped golden light, self-effulgence, meaning they radiate light, circling it 4 or 5 inches out, goes from white to yellow, then another layer orange, another layer red, another layer green, another layer blue, violet, lavender, and a kind of a golden energy field around it, hovering there. That's the real you, running an energy form like you on Earth. And this is on Earth. where this is, this place. But it's not on the Earth you know. This planet Earth you're on is in a parallel dimension in our physical universe, the third parallel dimension up from the world you're used to, where planet Earth is polluted, full of squabbling people, all different races at each other's throats, and a barren moon. There is an Earth very close to us in frequency, at a little bit faster what's called a molecular time rate. And it has an ocean on it, like ours, but it doesn't have the familiar continents. It has a large landmass running from east to west, halfway around the planet, centered over the equator, that extends into the north and southern hemispheres. And you can see the words in glowing letters appear over it, Lemuria or Mu. Now this is a place in a parallel that never sank. Poles never flipped here like they did in the world where you are used to. 100,000 years ago, destroying the continent of Lemuria, most of what was a colony continent, 2/3 its size, and centered over the equator on the opposite side of the planet. A cyclic event for this planet you're used to that destroyed civilizations after they reached 100,000-year mark many times. In this parallel dimension, that never happened. And it is a secure, protected environment. And when you look out in space, you can see a moon, green, turning on its axis, and little dome cities and lakes, and it's green and has atmosphere. It's not like the moon you see on the Earth you're used to. You look up and you look at the sky. The air is clear, blue, green, everywhere around, no pollution. You find yourself orbiting above this planet in space as a luminous being. And I'm there, and Perry, and a little friend of mine who's a cat here on Earth named Starlight. And he looks like us, and he's hovering there. And when you look at him, you can see this cat body, white, a little gray, part Siamese, and he gets around. I mean, this is an Atla running a kitty body. He's very advanced. There's a friend of mine hovering here in space with us called Ambassador Torelli, and he is human, but his race immortalized their bodies over 1 billion years ago. So when they manifest a physical body, they manifest it out of the Atma, the spherical form, carry out a mission, and dissolve it. We get our genomes and our DNA originally from them for the forms we have on Earth and many other worlds. For me, he's a trusted friend, a very advanced being. When they were around, their bodies were 18 to 25 feet tall. People on Earth don't know they existed at any time anymore. That they seeded life in this form and others, bipedal upright walking, human, humanoid, and other races long ago in what's called the astral and physical planes. Brought them up to spacefaring capability, the atmos that could run higher forms of bodies, and then they withdrew into the background to see what we could do with it. Everyone knows we haven't done a very good job of it. So they're kind of returning to help sort things out, sort of. Now he's going on a little journey with us. He's here just to introduce himself. He's not a tyrant. He doesn't invade people's consciousness or control them. He inspires by example people to recover what they've been made to forget. His energy does that. He channels a new ray, a new level of consciousness in this primordial first sound we call hue, not native to Earth, didn't originate on Earth. It's that round sound we sing or send out silently or out loud. When people do it, they'll notice it vibrates the head upward only, or the pineal gland in the center of the brain. Only upward from there. If you get the hint of what I'm saying there, then you understand what it does. It opens a kind of a protected door, so the Atma can connect to the source itself and begin to remember. It's like a fail-safe set in motion at the beginning of eternity. Now, when it crosses your path, things start to go forward and are not reversible. That means recovery, recall, enlightenment, awakening. Just words. So it remains for each person to experience the truth of these words for themselves through their own direct experience. Here we are in orbit above a planet in a parallel dimension, looking at Earth with a live moon. Now you can see down at the southern part of that continent below the equator, a curved half-moon beach, green sandy beach, half-moon shaped. And you're going to find yourself with feet suddenly sinking into this emerald green soft sand on the planet's surface. And your feet are extending up into a round sphere. You're not even an entire human form. And the feeling of that green sand is sending a warm, soothing energy up your legs. It's also cool at the same time. And you can smell this gardenia and lavender scent again. You're standing on this half-moon bay-shaped green sand like little polished pebbles of emerald. And this ocean beach, this turquoise water is crashing in an even roll down the beach. And it looks blue-green from the light of the sun passing through the green sand into the water. And then you feel an entire physical form standing there. When you look up, you see a sphere of energy hovering above you. Both of these are each of you. They're both you. One is an energy form that looks human, just like you. So you have tactile sensation and can pick up senses here. So you're running a temporary body. The Atma, the real you, has this capability. And you're walking up this sand, and then you dissolve and become the sphere hovering above the sand. There's Torelli and myself, my little cat Starlight, some friends from other worlds that have been invited to join us, kind beings, human in the body forms. There's two couples that are with us. They have comrades, or I should say co-workers aboard ships hovering around Earth in what's called a shifted out of phase mode. So the ships are not visible. They are not detectable on radar. They're here to protect. There are 4 couples, men and women, on each of these ships. 2 of them are sitting in the back of the ship in a trance state called sleep, joining us here. We're moving over this brown path in a straight line through a huge palm trees and giant, big leafy, prehistoric looking ferns. And we're moving over it several miles inland until we come to this lavender colored tall grass where we started this journey. And we feel our bare feet walking under this white marble. It's surrounding a statue of a woman. It is a clear quartz polished statue about 8 feet tall with big spread wings sticking out of its back. Beautiful woman with a little gold band and a gem in her forehead. Slightly pointed ears, and her hands out to the sides, palms open, facing all the way down the brown path to the emerald green beach. This looks like an angel, but it isn't an angel as you think of it on Earth. And it isn't even a being, it's a human woman, but not from Earth. And when you look into the abdomen, you go up to it and peer through this clear stomach area, you can see a water-covered world with 3 live moons around it and 2 suns in another part of our galaxy. So it is a doorway, a device, if you will. And when you look to the other side of the lavender field, you can see that the jungle becomes blue-green forest trees. And further up a mountainside, a tall snow-covered mountain and a large, very large, clear, crystal clear dome city at the base with 3 golden pyramids with quartz caps surrounding a long ivory-colored lower building between them, and a waterfall cascading several thousand feet down a mountainside out of a cavern opening, disappearing behind the backside of this dome. And above that, a lighted tunnel, oval-shaped, semi-spherical curved oval shape. And you can see, even from the beach, way inland, you can focus your eyes like they're telephoto lenses, and you can see half-sphere dome-shaped lights, white, lining the interior of a cavern that goes inside this mountain. The city and the beings that work there are from other worlds, and they have a base of operations here. There is no negative here. No tyrant beings have been ever allowed to come here. And they can travel either out of their body or in shift or crafts from here into our reality and back and forth as easily as it is for you to spread butter on bread. And they've been looking out for people on Earth for a very long time. And in a sense, they've had their hands tied because of the way the lower worlds were designed. Their hands are no longer tied because the way things were created to work as a positive and negative stream in the lower dimensions is being changed, not being destroyed. Just the governors of these planes are being set free of subconscious motivations that are negative. We won't get into any more than this tonight, this way, but it makes it possible for people on Earth to begin to recover what they have been made to forget under ways that they would be very frightened to remember. Before this life, before the life where they found themselves on planet Earth with little or no memory, intact, or higher use of faculties. You find yourself as a sphere hovering above this angelic crystal quartz statue of a woman, looking down on this circular glade of tall lavender grass. You can look out into the distance and see, several miles away, the emerald green sandy beach where you put your feet down in it. And when you look up, you find yourself orbiting in space with Torelli and the rest of us, looking down on this Lemurian continent, stretching across the equator from left to right hemisphere, extending considerably far north and south of the equator. And down the bottom there, you can see an emerald curved sandy beach. When you look over to the moon here, it is green and verdant with clouds, sky, big lakes like small oceans, and crystal clear dome cities like the one that's down on the ground. You are witnessing and experiencing being out of your body, looking at a parallel dimension, third dimension up out of 144, before it gets to the lower astral plane, the next major division. And this is a prototype. This has been here for a very long time. Earth, as you know it, and its moon can become like this. Then you'll see like the heat wave in a desert, a waver of light. And you'll see our Earth appear in the same space, the one you're familiar with polar ice caps. our oceans and familiar land masses, and our barren moon that does not turn on its axis. It always shows the same face to us as it revolves around the planet. Off in the distance, you can see our sun. You can look in space and see all the billions of stars in our galaxy. Then you can look down to where you are on Earth, wherever you may be, and see yourself hovering as a sphere of light above the physical body in the trance state called sleep. And you smile as a being, as the Atma, down upon that form, and send the memory of this journey down to it. And as you wake it up, when you're ready, open your eyes.
Okay. Thank you, Scott. Scott, for those who want to have more experience, they should read your book and the techniques at the end of the book. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to have a new cover. And it's going to be published this next month with a bigger size, 6x9. The Saber's agenda is based on my direct experiences in other worlds and being with other people, growing up in this lifetime, remembering who I am and how I got to be here. In the back of it is a special technique section designed for the prologue and all 29 chapters that work with the hue and the new ray that we worked with tonight. So as hidden truth is unfolded before your visual experience going through the book, when you have dreams at night and other things start to come back to you, you'll think of one of the chapters that's most familiar to you, that intrigues you, that you're drawn to, and you go to the technique and use that technique for that chapter. Do it during the day when you're comfortable and you won't be disturbed at night before you go to sleep. And then more will come back to you. There's another book out called The Emerald Doorway, which is book 1 of the Parallel Time trilogy. It begins 100,000 years ago, out in space.
Okay. I do have problem with the sound system, Scott.
What's going on?
Okay. Okay.
We'll just shut your mic off for a minute then, and I'll finish.
Okay.
Shut your mic off.
No, it's
Shut your mic off. That's it. Then they won't get the feedback. The Emerald Doorway is about what happens with extraterrestrials involved in Earth and our solar system 100,000 years ago, before the poles flipped the last time, destroying continents we know as Lemuria, most of Atlantis, all but a volcanic island. As new continents rose up, it became the colonizing power on Earth. Took 70,000 years or more, and then 35,000 years it was destroyed through the misuse of science. But there's histories going back further than that on this planet. 50 million years since the dinosaurs were made extinct. Beings have been coming here from other worlds. So people might as well know about it. It's their world. They don't even know the history of their own planet, much less what they did out in the galaxy before they found themselves incarnated here. So there are two different types of books. One is more contemporary, about how things are changing out in the universe, affecting the changing destiny of this world and its people. And the other one is about an ancient history that involved extraterrestrials that end up in present time on Earth from an ancient past, and how that all connects. So they're written very visually, and I think people will get a lot of experience and get some good remembering out of them. They're not written to entertain, though they're entertaining. They're written for people to begin to have direct awakening experience. So I hope they enjoy them. They can go to www.paralleltime.com, which is one of 4 websites have. It's the primary one, and go investigate videos that talk about my work, that explore it for free. Listen to radio shows that I've been on and interviewed on, or presentations I've done at conferences around the world. Nothing's for sale at the sites. You can get the books through links provided that go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble or iTunes or anything like that. But the sites themselves sell nothing. Everything there is free. So have fun and enjoy that. And I will say goodnight, Perry, and stop the recording so that I can send it to you and you can put it up on YouTube when you're ready.
okay. Thank you very much, Scott. Good night.
My pleasure. I wish everybody happy dreams and great experiences.
Okay, bye.